Okay, I have a student in my Photoshop class who has a portrait he's working on. He needs to retouch it, and in this portrait the model has some chipped fingernail polish that he wants to retouch. So here's a quick demonstration on how to do that very thing. First off, anytime you're talking about retouching, you want to try to work as non-destructively as possible. So step one is going to be go down here to the Layers panel, and if that's not visible, you need to go to Window and make sure there's a check mark next to Layers. So in the Layers panel, I'm going to click on the little white page icon next to the trash can. That creates a new layer. So this is the layer I'm going to be working on. And then if I don't like the changes, I can just get rid of that layer. Okay, I'm working in Photoshop CS5, by the way, but this process is exactly the same as in CS6, so no changes there. To work on this, I'm going to begin by making a selection. Let me zoom in so I can see what I'm working on here. I usually like to work in the actual pixels mode, but that's too far away because this is a pretty low-res picture. So here I'm zoomed in on this. I want to work on this nail here. First thing I need to do is create a mask. I need to mask off, as you would when you're painting your house and you mask off the trim with some tape. We're going to mask off the area around the nail that we don't want to affect. So I'm going to enter into quick mask mode, which is just here beneath the foreground and background color in the toolbox. So I'm in quick mask mode. You can tell that it's active because it's a darker shade. We work in quick mask mode using a brush tool. So I have a brush tool selected, and I usually like to work with the hard brush, the second one there in the selection, because that one doesn't change size or opacity or anything with pen pressure if you happen to be working with a tablet. I'm just going to use a nice normal brush there. Okay, so make sure that I have the black color is my foreground color. See, this is the background color because you can see it's behind this one appears to be in front. And the easiest way to get to here is just to click on the default foreground and background colors, which should be black and white for just about everybody. Okay, so with black, quick mask mode, brush, paint. Alright. Now even though I have black color selected, the mask appears in red. And you can see here I did that very quickly because I'm going to go in and make refinements. I can switch the foreground and background colors. So I'm painting with white. And when you paint with white on the quick mask, it effectively erases that red area. It erases the mask. So I can get in here. Now you're going to find yourself switching when you're working with masks. You're going to find yourself switching between the black and white colors often. So the quick way to do that is with the letter X on the keyboard. So X, I switched to black and white. Switch to black. White. Black. White. Now I don't have to get a whole lot of mask on here, but it doesn't hurt. So, okay. Now when I'm done making my selection, I'm going to, I keep calling it a selection because there's really no difference between a quick mask and a selection. Okay. So, I exit quick mask mode by clicking on that button down there. And you can see here I've got the marching ants, which is what you normally see with the selection. Now see, I could do a little bit better getting that nail there. That might show up. So I'm going to go back into quick mask and zoom in here, get a little bit smaller brush, and sort of I want to catch that edge. Make sure I've got all of the nail and none of the shadow there. Oops. and it's okay to paint white out there so you can see what's going on, and then come back in and paint that. And while I'm here, I'm going to switch now to the soft brush, and I want this edge, because it's so sharp, I'm going to mask it a little bit with a soft brush so I end up with less of a hard edge. So I'm going to go along the inside and along the outside, with alternating between the black and white brush color. And it's difficult to see, probably especially in this video, precisely what that changes, but it's creating a mask that is not fully opaque or transparent there on that edge. It's not going to be fully selected. There's going to be some partially selected pixels there, and that'll let it blend in from one area to the other a little bit better. So again, back out to the selection mode instead of quick mask, and check my selection. Okay, so only this area inside of this selection is up for change. If I stray over into this area, none of the tools will work. The tool we're going to use in this case is the clone stamp tool. If you go to the toolbox and you press and hold on the clone stamp icon, you can make sure you have the clone stamp tool instead of the pattern stamp tool selected. Come up here to the tool options, make sure you have a lined sample. Do current and below, because if you're working on an adjustment layer or a retouching layer like I am, just using the current layer won't select any pixels. Make sure that the turn off include adjustment layers when cloning option is selected, and we're going here. First thing you need to do for the clone stamp tool is you need to select a sample area. If you hold down the option key, the icon changes, or cursor changes, and I'm going to select a spot that is a fair distance away from where I'm going to end up painting. So let's sample right there. I sampled by clicking. You can see underneath the brush now is the preview of what it's going to look like. I'm going to paint here just a little bit. It's helpful to find areas that you can easily align. So if you go along an edge here, for instance, then you're going to go right up here and you see an edge, and you can paint there. It's very important that you do not have the sample area. See, I'm going to sample here. Actually, let me do something like this. I'm going to sample very close to this edge. You might be tempted to sample close to where you're going to paint. And then let's say I start painting here. And now you see I've got some issue here. It's not painting all the way. Well, that's because I've got it. The circle is overlapping where the sample area is. In fact, anytime that sample indicator crosses into an area that was already painted, then you're sampling what it was before you painted, if that makes sense. Before you cloned, it's looking at what did that spot look like before you started cloning it. And so you don't want to do this. You want to sample far enough away from where you'll be painting or cloning that they won't ever meet. So this is a bit of a art, picking good sample areas and aligning that up and painting inside of the selection. And I'm just about there. Okay, let's take a look at this. Let's back out here. Not too shabby. Fingernail polish retouched. Well, let's try that again for this fingernail, just for sake of reinforcing this. So I'm in quick mask mode, select the brush, and I'm going to make the brush a little bit bigger. Actually, I'm going to switch to the hard brush. There we go. And paint with black color selected, so it adds to the mask. Switching between white and black to alternately erase and paint the mask. And I have a more complete video about making selections and masks. I'm going to try to check that out. Okay. Good selection there. Switch out of quick mask mode. Confirm that I'm looking at good mask, and looks like I need to add some more in there. So I'm going to switch back into quick mask mode. And as before, I'm going to use a softer brush here to get along this edge. Paint with white here along this edge. And then come back in a little bit closer with black. Okay. See how that looks? Much better. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the clone stamp tool. Pick a sample area with the Option key. This is on the Mac. And then paint. See, what happened there is that my sample overran the edge of the fingernail there, and I was sampling from outside. So I'm going to undo that and make sure that I don't move that sample cross over the wrong area. Okay, let's back out of there. And I'm going to deselect by holding down Command D. Again, that's on a Macintosh. And there we go. Fingernail number 2. So there is the details of how to retouch fingernail paint, fingernail polish. And hopefully that solves my student's problem. And if that helped other people, then fantastic. So be sure to check out my selection video, selection and masking, for more details about my technique for selection. And watch for other tutorials as well. Thanks.